In this video I'm going to demonstrate automatic docking using a script written in Kerbal Operating System. Situation is I've got two space station modules that have been launched separately, separated by about 2 kilometers. There's the primary one there, the targets there. So the objective of the script is to get these two vessels to dock. Okay, so I'll just start the script up. Okay, I know what's gone wrong. I've picked the wrong one. So I just have to go back to the correct one, and my script didn't crash, so that was good. Okay, so just select the target. Alright. So what the vessel is doing now is it's calculated a vector that will result in it intercepting the target. It's now just steering onto that vector. Just talk a little bit louder over the top of the special effects. If you use cooked steering, like I like, it can be a bit tedious because you've got to wait for things to turn around, steer themselves into the correct direction. Especially big lumbering modules like this, it takes forever for them to turn. Anyway, I've got the speed, actually limit the speed to 10 meters per second, because when you dock it's best to keep your speeds low to conserve RCS fuel, because the faster you speed up, then the more you have to thrust at the other end to slow back down again. So the module is just getting itself up to the speed. You can see that here. On the display we've just got the vessel orbit, the target orbit, the attitude of the vessels, and also another display that gives you a combined attitude of the vessels. I was hoping to show you something on the nav board, but it's not cooperating. It just went and rotated the vector markers off, but it'll come back again in a second and I'll explain what I'm talking about there. A couple of other things that I've got in here is closest approach information. Basically how much time to the closest approach, how long to the closest approach, and how good the closest approach actually is. So at this stage it's 30 meters. It should be able to get a little bit closer than that, but obviously if that figure was way off, then you're probably on the wrong vector. Oh, there we go. So you can see the position vector marker and the velocity vector marker over the top of each other, so that means it's all lined up pretty good. Okay, so we just got to wait for it to close the distance. The other thing is not aiming exactly at the target vessel. If you do that, you just get collisions. It's actually aiming to a point that's offset from the center of mass of the target vessel. I think I got that set to about 50 meters. So hopefully that's enough to avoid a collision in this case. I don't have any collision detection in the script. That's actually quite complicated and takes a bit of doing. I just didn't think it was really worth it for this demo. This information down here, don't usually display it. It's just some diagnostics because I've been having some issues. It actually is the vector that the the vessel is trying to steer in on. And the feature of these vectors is once they're pointing to exactly where you want to go, the vector itself becomes very small in magnitude. And if you're actually using Cook steering on a small vector, it can get a little bit twitchy, which is, you can actually see that going on. You kind of get these micro corrections. You can try to get rid of them by setting dead zone and all that, but sometimes when you set dead zones you actually lose a little bit of your accuracy, so I haven't set one in this case. Okay. So it's obviously not going to slow down in time, but that's okay. It will just keep going, keep slowing down and then back up and come back in again. If you've got big vessels, you've got lots of inertia, you could put in all the calculations to figure out how long you need to thrust and stuff like that. You probably calculate it using the ideal rocket equation, but I haven't done that in this script because it would have just made the script even bigger. I'll probably put it in like something like that later. I just haven't bothered for this demo. Alright, it's getting pretty close now. And another thing is the closer I get, I reduce the speed limit, because the closer you are, the more precise you have to be, so it's just better to just be moving slower. So that's why that number there has been decreasing. So what it's doing now, it's got rid of most of its relative velocity. It's just drifting in towards the aiming point. You may or may not, you can actually see the thrusting on this gauge here if you go into translate mode. It's pretty tiny. Sometimes the adjustments you don't even see them because well, that one was big enough to see. It doesn't actually activate the visual and the audio highlight below a certain level. I guess that's part of the KSP realism. Right, so it's getting very close now. Just got to give it a chance to settle. It's a big craft, so sometimes it can take a little while. So the algorithms, the steering algorithms, just aren't perfect. Sometimes they just don't work at all, as I discovered earlier tonight. This is about my third attempt. It's just been one of those nights, unfortunately. When I did a dry run earlier today, it all just went flawlessly. I wish I'd been recording. Okay, it's getting pretty close. Fingers crossed. Waiting for this status line here to change to show that it's reached the aiming point, and it's happy with its velocity, meaning it's close to zero, and it would then move on to the next phase. And there we go. Okay, it's asking me to select the docking ports. I didn't have to write it this way. You could have made an assumption on the docking ports in the code itself, or input the docking ports as a parameter. If you're doing a purely automated approach with a lot of different maneuvers hooked up together, you obviously don't wait for operator input, because you assume there is no operator. So you'd have to work out the docking ports in advance. But just for this script, I decided to let the selection be up to the operator. So that's what it's asking me to do now. I've got a choice to make here. Do I pick one of the difficult ports, or do I pick one of the easy ports? Well, considering I've already had a long night, I think I'll pick one of the easy ports. Control from here, that's right. You flip back to the other screen, and we'll just pick the one that's already facing it. We'll make things easier for ourselves. Okay, there it goes. Now it's trying to find a settling point, which is basically right in front of the docking port it wants. I'll try to speak louder over the top of the sound effects again. This phase of the maneuver, I'm actually using what they call a PID loop to do the controlling. And yep, they bounced. The thing is, PID loops are great for hovering and stuff like that, which is exactly what this is. This is a type of hover, although you wouldn't normally think of it as a hover, but it is. The trouble is with PID loops, they take a lot of tuning to get them right, and even then when you tune them for one set of vessels, they're not necessarily tuned for another set of vessels. So the error is displayed, the XYZ error is displayed here, so you can see it is getting closer and closer to the settling point. Once it reaches the settling point, it will actually attempt to dock from there, and fingers crossed it all works this time. I wanted to do the whole thing in one take. I don't like editing very much. Okay, they are getting closer. Just trying to get a better view. Oh, what's happened is because that collision has actually imparted a bit of rotation on the target, so I'll just go and fix that. It doesn't happen automatically, unfortunately. I don't know how to make it happen automatically, because if it's not in focus, it just tends to not do anything. Maybe it needs a script of its own. I guess that would be one solution. Okay, looks better now. Hopefully no more collisions. I'll just switch that highlight off. I did try to speed this phase up, but I wasn't actually successful. You've just got to let the PID loop work itself out. Maybe it just needs some more tuning. It's getting pretty close. Just waiting for that to change. There we go. Fingers crossed. Oh, I don't believe it. We had another bounce. Okay. I can't believe it. The dry run I did worked flawlessly. Okay. All we can do here is restart the script and try again. Oh, I found a problem. If the now that I've already selected the ports, I've got to unselect them, so I've got to sort of go back to the control pods. Otherwise, strange things happen. It's not really contingency I allowed for in my script. Okay. Right. Module 1. Run it again. Target's already selected, so I don't have to do that again. It's always good to make your scripts restartable. This is one reason why. Okay. Okay, this is obviously going to take a long time, so I will finish this section here and continue on my own time, and if I'm successful I'll just edit it in, but I'll end this one here, so you'll probably see a cut sooner or later. Okay, one last attempt, I think. Okay, it's asked me to select the docking ports, so I'll do that. Can you see the docking port selected there? This one. Alright. I'll just mention again that it's what is happening, it's trying to reach a settling point. It's using what they call a PID loop to hover at the settling point. The settling point's about 5 meters in front of that port just there. I actually just adjusted one of the parameters in the PID loop as well, because they're great for hovering, and you should always they're well worth your attention, but a flaw is that they have to be tuned. It's not always obvious how to tune them. You can see this one's getting very close. As you can see there, it's about to go. But this is the sort of thing that happens if they're not tuned correctly. They try to make corrections, either the correction's too big or the correction's too small. Okay, let's hope that this one works. Oh, finally. Okay. Good. Oh, that was a marathon. I don't know if it's going to come out in, depending on, I've now got about five attempts to edit together. I might as well just do it. I wanted to do the whole thing in one take, but tonight just wasn't my night, but I'll work with what I've got. I just really wanted to show this thing actually working. That's the way it does work. I will actually produce another video, and I'll do things like, I'll make a part 2 and I'll do things like displaying the vectors and stuff like that. That'll be interesting for people who like that sort of thing. Alright, so got a lot of editing ahead of me. I'll do that and see if I can get this out the door in a day or two. Anyway, until next time.